Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today we're making a core guardian build in Guild Wars 2 for the open world. And the goal behind our builds on this channel are to make fun, viable builds that have a strong theme. We're not necessarily chasing DPS metas, but again, we're going to be viable. And this being our first Guild Wars 2 build on the channel, I figure we better start with the core specs. And thankfully, core guardian, well, it's no pushover. So if any of that sounds good to you, consider hitting that like and subscribe button, and let's get started. Now, starting off this video, this is kind of the order we're going to go through as far as discussing this build. We're going to first start off with the traits. Those are really easy to slot in. Then we'll talk about the skills you should be picking up. Some of those skills are going to be like locked in choices, and then other ones you're going to have a little wiggle room with. And then we'll move on to our equipments, our stats. We'll talk a little bit about damage rotation, but I'm going to be honest, most Guild Wars 2 builds, you can take your face and roll it across the keyboard, and it's going to work out just fine. And then we'll end the video off with an overview. We'll talk about key components like your Defiance break abilities, and then also your stun breaks, because those are both very important in my opinion when it comes to Guild Wars 2 combat. So let's go ahead, let's jump to that first section there, the traits. Now, when we're talking about our traits, we're going to be focusing on our meditation skills. For core guardian, I think there's like two avenues you can kind of focus on. One is meditations, which we're going to be doing for this video, and the other is like a shout guardian, those shout skills. I think those are both really powerful, especially for a core spec. But so yes, meditation, that's what we're going to be focusing on. So when we're picking our trait lines, we want things that are going to again work for our meditations. So first skill line here is Valor. Valor is important because of our last trait here, Monk's Focus. This is going to make our meditation skills be able to heal, but also grant us Fury every time we use a meditation skill. Fury is going to give us 25% chance to crit, and in just a bit, we're going to be adding on a little bit more to that Fury component, but right here, Monk's Focus, this is kind of like a core component of the build, and we're going to be able to heal ourselves as well. So we have a little bit of sustainability just from using our meditation skills. So we always don't have to rely on using our heal ability. We can do it again with just using our utility skills. So now we're going to work our way back because I think it was important to establish that we have Monk's Focus. For our second choice here on this trait line, I would take Lesser Litany of Wrath. This is going to activate on our F3 ability. So our F3 now becomes a way for us to basically proc Fury as well. This is really handy. And then for our first choice, I would just go with Smiter's Boon. This is going to synergize with our healing skill and be another way where we can grant ourselves Fury. But basically, the foundation and then the baseline for this build is going to be 100% uptime with Fury based on our meditation skills. And for example, we're already making our F3 ability essentially another meditation skill that's going to proc Fury for us. So that's going to be, this is like our building blocks going forward. Now, for our second trait line, I went with Zeal. We're going to get things like Lesser Symbol of Resolution. We're going to be taking Wrathful Spirit for our first choice here. This is going to have to do with our Aegis, and when that goes down, we're going to get even more Fury. Also, we're getting Resolution as well, so that's pretty good. And we're also getting Symbolic Exposure. So symbols, we're going to be utilizing symbols mostly with our weapon, and that's why we're taking for our second choice here as far as in Zeal, we're taking Zealous Blade. The weapon that I'm going to say to lock in is definitely the Greatsword. And the Greatsword is one of the best weapons for the Guardian. So that's why we're taking Zealous Blade here. And then we also get Symbolic Avenger. Again, it's going to have to do with more symbols, and that's going to come from our weapons. For the last trait in the Zeal line, we're going with Furious Focus. And the reason why we're taking Zeal in general is because of this trait here. This is going to alter our Fury, and it's going to give us increased movement speed, as well as just a flat damage boost as long as we have Fury up. And as a little cherry on top, every time we activate our Virtue Skill 1, it's going to create a symbol of blades under us. And then our last trait line we're going to be picking up is Virtues. This is just kind of like a universal one you put with like every Guardian build or spec. It's just great across the board because it has everything to do with our F abilities, which is like a core Guardian feature. We're going to first pick up Inspired Virtue, so this is going to give us a boon with our associated F abilities. That's just generally good. We're going to take Unscathed Contender, just more damage while we have our Aegis. And then Virtue of Resolution. Anytime we use an F ability, we're going to get Resolution. That's just great across the board. And then for this trait line, this is the big one here, Inspiring Virtue. This is going to add a just flat 10% damage whenever we activate a Virtue for 6 seconds. So in combat, you kind of just want to go down the line of just hitting F1, wait till your Inspiring Virtue goes down, then move to F2, maybe hold off on using F3 because it has a little bit more baked into it. We are then going to get Power of the Virtuous. This isn't that important for the build, but our last choice as far as in this trait line, Indomitable Courage. This is going to transform our F3 into giving us stability, but more importantly, it makes it a stun break. But those are all the traits out of the way. Let's go ahead and move to the skills and talk about our healing skills, utility skills, and then our elite skill as well. Now, moving on to our skills, starting off with our healing skill. I'm going with Litany of Wrath, and obviously this is because this is a meditation skill, meaning this is going to grant us Fury, and then Fury has all those stacking bonuses on top of it, and we also get an additional little bit of healing as well. So a lot of sustainability with this one. You can almost use this offensively all the time, again, because it's granting you Fury. And then moving to our utility picks here. The first one I'm taking is Judge's Intervention. Again, meditation, but this will teleport you to a target on top of doing a little bit of damage as well. It's also a stun break. So this is important. We'll talk a little bit more about our stun breaks later on, but this is just a fantastic ability. It really does a lot of things. Burning damage, movement, damage. It's going to give us that Fury buff as well. A lot of things going on with this one. 20-second cooldown. This is just one I would definitely just lock in. And then for our next skill, I'm taking Smite Condition. Again, another meditation, but this is going to take off any condition damage that we're doing. But remember, because of our traits, every one of our virtues here or our F abilities, they're going to grant us resolution. So condition damage, really not going to be a huge issue for us. This Smite Condition has a 16-second cooldown. So this is just something you can spam in general. This is probably a slot that you could change out if you don't like this, but I think another good choice maybe for this would be something like Stand Your Ground. This is mostly just for another stun break and also stability. Stability is just universally just great across the board. And for our last utility skill, I think you should also lock in Bane Signet here. This is just like another universal skill that I think works with almost every Guardian build. The Defiance Break is really what's important about this this skill here and why it's so good. The passive feature there, more power, that's always good. But again, it's that Defiance Break being at 300. That is just every build wants that. Now for our elite skill, I'm taking Feel My Wrath. You could take Renewed Focus, but I think this is a little overkill, and I think we get a lot more benefit from Feel My Wrath because it's giving us quickness and super speed. Quickness, this is so good. This is really a game changer in a lot of like DPS situations, but for solo play and open world content, which is what we're focusing on, this is just a great source for it, and we're not going to get it otherwise unless we take Firebrand, but this is a core spec. So Feel My Wrath, just great across the board. This is how I would open up a fight. But those are my skills out of the way. Let's move on to the equipment and then the weapons we're going to be choosing. Moving on to our gear, and mostly gear just has to do with your stats. Damage stats, Berserker, Assassin, Marauder, anything that is giving you power, precision, some ferocity as well. Those are all great choices for this build. Damage, damage, damage. We have plenty of sustainability with our meditations and our healing that we can just focus solely on DPS and power. Mostly just a power build. And same goes for our runes. I wouldn't be too picky about the runes you're taking. I have Rune of the Dragon Hunter, but something like Rune of the Pack, same thing here as far as just more damage. The Dragon Hunter, it's giving us ferocity and power. The Pack there doing just power and then a little bit of precision as well, and some boon duration as well. I actually like Rune of the Pack a lot, kind of just a more generally good rune set there, but for right now I just have Dragon Hunter, and that is going to be completely fine. Anything that is increasing your damage, that is what you want as a rune set. Now, weapons, keeping the same stats as far as just power and damage. First weapon is the Greatsword. This is locked in because of that Zealous trait line that we chose, or the Zeal trait line, and really the damage rotation for your Greatsword is to use your 4, which is your symbol of resolution, and then follow that up with Whirling Wrath. Whirling Wrath is a huge damage source. Always be using Whirling Wrath when it's up. The key I would say for damage in any Guardian is you want to do your 2 and your 4 and your 2, and then swap to your next weapon and do whatever their big damage skills are, and then swap back and make sure to always do again 4 and 2. Your damage will be a lot essentially. Other things about the Greatsword, we have Binding Blade here. And this is going to be a pull ability as well when you activate it again. And this is going to be another way for us to do a little bit of Defiance Break. So we have a couple sources of Defiance Break, and Binding Blade here, that's what I would be using that for, again, for those break bars. Really handy there. We have Leap of Faith. This is what I'd be using after you do your Whirling Blade. So you'd be using 4 Whirling Blade, and then use your Leap of Faith, and then after that you can just auto attack. That's kind of just the simple damage rotation again when it comes to Greatsword. Now when it comes to our second weapon set, I'm going to be honest, this one's completely up to you and whatever you feel comfortable with. If you have Janthier Wilds and you have the spears, that's a really good weapon to have in combination with the Greatsword, but I'm going with the one-handed sword and shield, mostly for the aesthetic, but there's some value in these two choices. For the one-handed sword here, Zealot's Defense, this is a lot of damage. So as soon as you're done with that Greatsword opening combo, switch to this second set here, do Zealot's Defense. That's a big chunky bit of damage there. And then do Symbol of Blade. And I think you're going to be completely fine with damage. It's a lot of fun. Plus Symbol of Blade here. This is another teleport. We have a lot of teleport abilities. We have this. You have the Leap of Faith with your Greatsword. And then we also have Judge's Intervention here. A lot of zipping around. A lot of mobility. On top of when we have Fury, we're 33% faster as far as movement as well. So you would think of a Guardian almost as like, you know, lacking that mobility and speed, but nope. With this build here, this Core Guardian, we're good to go. Now Shield, why am I taking Shield? Well, Shield of Judgment, this gives you Aegis back. That's pretty good. Oh, look at that person coming in with their mount. Anyways, got distracted, ADD. So that's a good way to get a little bit more defense. Now our 5 skill here, Shield of Absorption, this is another way for Defiance Break. We'll list out our Defiance Break options in a second, but just know, shield here, this is another source for us to do damage to that Defiance Break bar. Now, as a general overview and how we're going to sum up this build here, we already talked about our damage rotation with our weapon sets, but make sure you're going through at least your F1 and your F2, and that is because of Inspiring Virtue. Use your meditation skills, your Litany of Wrath, your Judge's Intervention, Smite Condition, as often as you can, especially if you don't have Fury up. Remember, with this build, we want 100% uptime on Fury. Anytime you're doing an event or you're doing farming hearts or anything like that, Feel My Wrath, use this every time it's off cooldown. This is why I said at the beginning of the video, it's kind of a build where you can just take your face and roll it across the keyboard, because a lot of these abilities and these skills here, you're just going to be using whenever they're up and then switching your weapon whenever you want. You don't have to be optimal with your weapon swaps as far as damage. Not a big deal. I've been playing since launch. You really could just hit the one key and you'd be completely fine. But if you want to play more optimally, then that's how I would do it. So that's going to be how you're doing damage and a little bit of sustainability because of our meditations. That's why you don't really need to worry about focusing on like using your heal skill. You can use it whenever you want. But the other big components are your stun breaks and then breaking defiance bars. When you get stunned or CC'd, crowd controlled, you have 2 abilities at your disposal to get you out of that. You have Virtue of Courage here. This is going to be up pretty often, but this is why I said maybe don't rotate through your F1, F2, and F3. Maybe hold off on F3 here because this is a stun break for you. You're going to want it if you get pushed back or knocked down or anything like that. You also have Judge's Intervention. That's your other stun break. So those are your 2 options, again, if you get crowd controlled. If and when an enemy has a break bar, we have 3 options. The big hitter is Bane Signet. This is going to probably knock out a break bar 90% of the time. At least you're always going to be doing your part when you use Bane Signet, because Defiance Break at 300 power, that's really strong. But if you want to do a little bit more, you can use something like Shield of Absorption. It's going to be 150. And then activating your pool for your Binding Blade on your Greatsword. That's going to be another 150. With those 3 options, yeah, you're definitely going to be doing your part as far as a party if you bring this into like fractals or anything like that, or dungeons. God, do people still do dungeons? They're so much fun. Been running one of my buddies through some of them, and yeah, those are some good pieces of content that I wish they would return to. But anyways, not a dungeon rant there. Those are your ways to defeat a Defiance bar. But speaking of dungeons, fractals, and strikes, I guess raids too, how does this build perform in those activities? Because this is mainly focused on the open world. Open world content, a lot of things are viable. You can get away with a lot of things. But for fractals and those strikes, as far as the quick play, it's going to be completely fine. I would say viable. Not going to be doing the most damage, especially in those like quick play strikes. I have noticed that, yeah, it's not the greatest bit of damage. It's not the worst either, but you are going to be able to sustain yourself. It's just when it comes to raw damage, something like a Dragon Hunter build is going to like completely blow this build out of the water. Alright y'all, that is the build, that is the video, that is our core Meditation Fury Guardian for the open world. Let me know what you guys like to run in the open world for your core Guardians. There's just a lot of options, and that's what the beautiful thing about Guild Wars 2 is as far as like the build craft. But this is the first Guild Wars 2 build on this channel, so if you've made it this far, I appreciate the hell out of you, and I will see you next time. Peace, and take care.